To me, how this subject brings out crowds no matter where I go across the state. And it's the most fun thing I have ever been able to talk about because I was a G-Fox shopper with my mom, and it brings me back in time every time I present this. But this is the subject that unites us all across the state. What I'd like to do is start back to where we were in the 1950s. Color television was introduced. The favorite shows were, of course, The Honeymooners, Father Knows Best, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and I Love Lucy, and kids, of course watched The Howdy Doody Time, Mickey Mouse Club, and Lassie. Walt Disney opened Disneyland. McDonald's was founded, and the Dodgers sadly moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. Elvis Presley appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show. Broadway hits were My Fair Lady, West Side Story, Damn Yankees, and The Sound of Music. And Dr. Seuss published The Cat in the Hat. The average house cost $25,000. The average yearly income, $4,100. Afford, $3,000. Look at a year at Harvard. $1,250 a year at Harvard. Look at a microwave. $1,300. So I'd like to see you go to Harvard today and say, hey, I got a microwave. I want to exchange for a year at Harvard. The place to shop was Fox's. A woman who became an artist, and she loved G. Fox so much that she made all of these depictions. So the Fancy Goods store was established in Hartford in 1847. It was across from the store we remember. And what would happen is that ships would come up the Connecticut River and they would unload goods like silks and notions and parasols, and that was what was sold at that store. And then this is the store in about the turn of the century when it was built up to 5 stories. How many knew that it was completely destroyed by fire? Did you really? And they never found out what caused the fire, whether it was arson or something else, but the family just watched it burn and they were devastated. This is what it looked like afterwards. Nothing was left. No products, no bills, no bills or receipts, no employee records. But that store was so beloved by the people of Hartford that they said that 90% of the people who owed a bill to G. Fox paid their outstanding debts to G. Fox. Also, all of the other storekeepers and churches in the community said, whatever we can do to help. So what you see is storefronts like this that rented out to G. Fox so they could stay in business. So this is a storefront that's selling women's garments and shoes. And by the 1950s, G. Fox was the largest privately owned department store in America. So here are their principles for success. The customer's always right. If you can get it anywhere, you can get it at G. Fox. If G. Fox says it's so, it must be so, and G. Fox is never knowingly undersold. So let's look at the 50s family, who was very stylish. I love this picture because it brings me back in time. Every mother wanted their little girl to have is curly Shirley Temple hair. So I went through my childhood with hair that looked exactly like that little girl's. Look at the wife and the daughter. They're just gazing at the wonder of him that just came home. Like, oh my God, isn't he just a god in our living room? And then they were asked to wear war when they were going away on vacation. There was really no such thing as leisure wear in the 50s. It was really quite formal. And the 50 gals, of course, loved to shop. Now, this is a really early display window, and it's probably a little bit before the 50s, because it's before the days of advertising, and they threw everything they had in the window. They wanted passers-by to realize how much was available. So let's go in, and if you all recall, as soon as you came up that escalator or you walked in that front door, there was someone to help. This was, of course, the busy street floor that we all remember that featured cosmetics, accessories, and jewelry. This is a 1955 catalog with an ad for perfume. And remember what Harvard cost? $1,200 a year? Shalimar, 2 ounces of Shalimar was $45. It's in our collection that were actually sold at G. Fox. You know, pocketbook for evening and the alligator day purse. There was the mezzanine, which was the bookstore, the optometrist, and they sold accessories on the mezzanine. They had the convenience of an in-house pharmacy. Rubbing alcohol with the Foxco label, multivitamin pills, and they employed something like 10 pharmacists in their heyday. Okay, how many knew G. Fox sold booze? Come on, admit it. Really? Okay, you can tell me later, because I've actually met sales girls who have said, yeah, on Fridays I used to go down to where they sold the booze and, you know, stock up for the weekend because it would be delivered to the house. Nobody had to know. Now, the liquor in G. Fox had to be sold in a certain place in the store because it had to be X number of feet from a church. Men could escape lawn work on, of course, the second floor. Remember the Madison shop? I remember going there at school time and they got their pants chalked, always the same salesman. They knew the salesman by name, the salesman knew them, and it was just a delightful experience. And here are clothes for business, which really aren't that different from what you see today. And then for pleasure, of course, they sold the golf clubs and the golf shoes. And I love this. When a man came home from work, he didn't put on jeans or sweats, but he could dress down because he could take his jacket off and put on a smoking jacket. But he had to keep on his tie and his shirt. And then, of course, girls of every age loved the shoe department. People came from New York City to Union Station in Hartford to shop at G. Fox because they had the best buyers in the country. And their buyers made sure that they bought for every possible customer. So you have the standard spectator shoes and the working girl shoes, and then you have those unbelievably beautiful designer shoes, because they wanted to make sure that they had something for everyone. Now, a noon meal was part of any trip at the luncheonette or the fancier Connecticut room. How many remember eating at the luncheonette? Connecticut room, far fancier because you had models, you had male waiters, murals around the perimeter that depicted scenes of Connecticut in 1847 when G. Fox was founded. Do you remember the menu? The employee cafeteria had the same food, and it came from our farm, so everything was fresh. So after lunch, because remember it was the 50s, you'd go to the lounge, have a smoke, and then go up to the 5th floor Vogue shop. Now let's face it, that hat was flattering to no one, but this Christian Dior suit, all silk, it's absolutely stunning. And who can't picture Audrey Hepburn in this dress? With a martini? Each of those flowers is applique. It's absolutely stunning. Now look at this. Talbots Catalog 2010. So you ladies who have your 1950 dresses, you get them out because Talbots is selling the same style. And this would be the evening dress, would go with those shoes you saw a minute ago. Another beautiful evening dress. Of course, the well-dressed lady of the 50s always wore hats and gloves. People tell me that you would sit in that corner, millinery salon, and the sales lady would come and you wouldn't have to get up or choose hats. She would come with a full selection of hats for you to try on. And here is a range of hats sold in the 1950s. This is probably the later 50s, like sort of the Jetson period, then another one from the 1950s. Bridal Salon on 5 was the first stop after receiving the diamond because they did everything. They did your invitations. They helped you write your announcement that went into the Hartford Courant. They set the photographer up. They Lois Bingham. Isn't this lovely? This is the woman I met in the DAR in her bridal outfit with that beautiful, beautiful train in the back. And she was married in Vermont, and she said that G. Fox boxed up her wedding dress. When she opened it up, it was fresh and it had not a single wrinkle. She felt like a queen. And soon afterwards, it was time to shop for the infants' clothes on the 6th floor. Now, how funny is this picture? Baby, stove, making out, not paying attention to the baby, no railing, nothing. It's unbelievable. And this I had to throw in because it's so fantastic. I'm going to read it for you who can't read it. For a better start in life, start cola earlier. How soon is too soon? Soon enough. Laboratory tests over the last few years have proven that babies who start drinking soda during the early formative period have a much higher chance of gaining acceptance and fitting in during those awkward preteen years. So do yourself a favor, do your child a favor, by the soda pop board of America. You will all remember this, the little saddle shoes in the box. And my husband actually remembers getting his feet x-rayed every year a Christmas catalog in 1955. Our mothers all wanted us to look like Shirley Temple. And the 50s housemaker could buy all their housewares on the 7th floor. And I bet if any of you still have those, they last forever. I mean, I have an egg beater still like that. I wouldn't part with it for anything. Love this ad. Christmas morning, she'll be happier with the Hoover. Yes, dear, forget the jewelry. I want vacuum cleaner. And again, this is from the catalog. I bet some of you still have this cookware, and it wears like iron. These were some of the appliances that were sold at G. Fox. On one of the higher floors was a Connecticut room. It would be decorated all the time with beautiful furniture and well designed. It was just beautiful. And of course, you remember Sentinel Hill Hall for fashion shows and concerts, and many celebrities went to G. Fox. Now, children were rewarded by Toyland, of course, on the 11th floor. And then, of course, anything Mickey Mouse we loved, Raggedy Ann and Andy. And there was no place like Fox's at Christmas. You never quite felt you were into the holiday until you went to Fox's. Now, you remember there was a period where they had little town scenes on the marquee, and then they had the presents and the candles and things like that. These are the kinds of toys that we would be getting. The little Lulu doll, of course, our doll carriage. And for boys, the cowboy outfit, etc. So regardless of the time of year, this was the bag you would see all over the state. And the delightful experience of visiting G. Fox was due to one woman, and that's Beatrice Fox Auerbach. Wonderful, wonderful book called A Woman in Business. It's by Virginia Hall. What you learn from here is what her day-to-day life was like. She set the standard for customer service and delivery. 2 helicopters were part of the fleet. They would deliver something as small as a spool of thread. And if you didn't like the color, they would take it back. She had a very loyal and dedicated workforce. She started a pension program, 5-day paid vacation, sick days. She was truly in the vanguard. These are the elevator operators that some of you will remember. I'm sure that when you look at those gates, can't you just kind of hear how those gates open and close? She was a life member of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. She $6 million to what's called a Women's Service Club, which funded other organizations that supported women and women's issues. She also personally trained her sales staff. She did introduce an in-house health facility, and she had like 6 RNs on her staff to help employees and customers. Now, she rewarded loyalty with membership in what was called the Moses Fox Club. After 25 years, you got this pin with your initials. And then she had a party. From everything from cream of mushroom soup, filet mignon, champagne, endive salad, frozen mousse, that Moses Fox cake, and then they sang. And they sang the Moses Fox theme song to the Battle Hymn of the Republic. Crowd was very, very active in the state. She received numerous awards for her philanthropy. She was incredibly philanthropic. Right now at the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, the largest fund, and I think there's like $300 million in it, is the Beatrice Auerbach Fund. She lived at 1040 Prospect Avenue in Hartford, which is only like 2 houses down from the governor's mansion. This was her parlor, the dining room, French doors, and then a view of the city of Hartford. And then this was her library. Come from cards of hers, but she was best friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. And we have their correspondence, which is a whole lot in common. And these are just some of the letters that Eleanor wrote to her, where she says, Eleanor writes and says, "My dear friend, I must confess that I was naughty and did not wait to open your package as you admonished. This morning I unwrapped it and I was completely overjoyed with a beautiful robe." Or she might say, "I've just returned to find your wonderful country eggs." Now, at all times, Beatrice Auerbach was a woman of exquisite taste and style. 14-karat gold signet pin. This is in our high security area. Final years, in 1965, the May department store bought G. Fox and she joined their board. In 1968, Beatrice Auerbach died. And in 1993, the downtown Hartford location closed, and the stores, if you remember, became Filene's. So here's her legacy. It is the selling of service rather than product, the filling of needs rather than the selling of merchandise.
This was from G. Fox, 1937. It's the state of Connecticut.
Women's garden tools, designed especially for us, the weaker sex. Sturdy and well constructed, these wonderful tools do the job efficiently with less effort. Isn't that fabulous? Women's garden tools. to bring back our members and do speeches like this and get people back and excited about the Connecticut Historical